There's another element. We talked about this last time, but, why is it that Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, a couple, ultra bought off conservative Democrats, they're saying, yeah, no, I'm not touching this infrastructure bill. I ain't voting for it. If you don't, whatever, the SALT tax, if you don't, get rid of the cap on that. In English, the SALT tax, state and local government, essentially some of these corporate Democrats, right-wing Democrats are saying, I'm not going to vote for any infrastructure bill if Biden doesn't give a massive tax cut to already wealthy people. That's what the SALT tax is. I don't want to get too in the weeds, but they say if Biden doesn't get rid of the cap on the SALT tax, which is $10,000, we're not going to vote for it. Okay, well, we have more numbers than they do. By my count, we got at least, I have the count right here, actually. By my count, we have at least 8, 9 progressives. If there is a God and Nina Turner joins us, look at that. This group could vote as a block right now and preemptively say, yeah, no, you took it out of the COVID bill. We want the $15 minimum wage in this infrastructure bill. Dead on arrival if it's not in there. They could say the same thing with a Medicare for all floor vote, which we don't need to relitigate forced to vote. I supported it. I think you did, but I don't understand it. And, I see there's a lot of tweeting going on, and they're tweeting nice things, but tweetings don't translate to organized power. And AOC, who, she's a politician. I don't need to bow down to her. I think she stands for what we stand for. But we keep hearing these buzzwords and phrases. She just did an interview with, I think it was Democratic Socialists of America, was it? Mm-hmm. Saying, we need to organize. We need to organize. Well, how much organizing do you need to do? We already have the numbers. They have a very narrow majority. So why is it preemptively now saying, yeah, $2 trillion is not enough. We'll talk, you'll get our vote when we start at $4 trillion. Oh, by the way, put the minimum wage back in there. Yeah. I don't get it.
Only thing I can think of, and I've been scratching my head about this the whole time, is that this Thrive Act is coming. Okay. So this is like part 1, part 2.
Explain for the audience what that is.
So it's basically the Green New Deal. It's basically all those features that we had grown to love. In fact, I got some numbers right here. For clean energy, it talks about spending like almost $3 trillion. For agriculture, we're talking about $1.6 trillion. For transportation, $939 billion. Caregivers, $775 billion, whereas Biden's right now is $400 billion. The Housing Act, they're talking about $565 billion versus $241 billion. And schools, everything is literally double and triple for that Thrive Act. So if you think about this, the Thrive Act, I don't know. I haven't seen all the details. I just see the numbers right now. So it's my suspicion that they're holding back their bullets for that. That's what I think.
That they're holding back their bullets for what?
To pass the Thrive Act, to try and say that they're going to put all their effort into that. I think they're giving Biden his due for his infrastructure, and I think they're pushing for that. That's all I can think, because there's no other answer that makes sense why they aren't pushing it now. That's the only thing I can come up with, other than they're just bought and sold, or whatever you want to say, scared, cowardly, whatever. That's another possibility. But I do suspect, given all the stuff I'm seeing on the back end about this Thrive Act, that is what that's my guess.
Well, this infrastructure bill that he's talking about throwing in Green New Deal programs and jobs. So it just seems to me like there's always like, a strategy. We think there's a strategy. We think that they're holding out on this or that. But the reality is they could literally shut down Biden's administration
immediately
now.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, I'm not a Tea Partier, but I do respect good politics, and they fucking held hostages. John Boehner apparently is out with a book now talking about his nightmare dealing with them. But this whole group could shut things down. Devil's advocate, you could say, well, Jordan, they're good people. They have morals, so they're not going to turn down some relief for people. Okay, but we didn't elect them to get some relief. We elected them to fight for radical change. We didn't elect them for this mealy-mouthed, crumbs of change and whatever. If you want to say, well, they didn't have a choice. They could not block the COVID bill. It was urgent. People needed help. Well, I think it's urgent that people need $15 minimum wage. And frankly, we're being, the longer that a $15 minimum wage is not passed, the longer that we're even on this $15 number. I mean, there's report, I think The Intercept just did it, where it should be $24.
Exactly. I was going to say $15 an hour is still the water's up here. It's
Right.
still not, you're still not breathing,
So the longer they basically don't play this. See, I think, and I've spoken with Shamus Sawant about this, and I'd like your thoughts.
Sure.
I think a big part of politics is understanding when you have a moment, understanding when it's a different moment. And I think that AOC and these people, and why I'm being so hard on them is like, they're our only hope right now. You and I have talked outside of electoral politics that there are other avenues, but electorally, they are our best chance at shutting some down, at playing hardball. And I think that they're not understanding that they have a moment. Yeah, Biden's polls might be good right now, this and that. That ain't going to last. It ain't going to last. For no president does their polls stay in the 50s or 60s. It will go down. And what I don't understand is they have a moment where they could say, okay, COVID relief, done. We played ball, but that's over with. The honeymoon's over. Bernie talked about fighting on day one against Biden. So did AOC. Let's get rid of Trump and fight on day one. Well, it's day, I don't know. We're 3 months into this, and there is no fighting. And yeah, you could be right about the Thrive Act, but honestly, a lot of these jobs, although they're good jobs, are also temporary jobs. So again, to me, the priority would be increasing the safety net, increasing the floor. And I just
job guarantee.
I don't see, yes, jobs guarantee. I'm with you. I don't see that political will. And frankly, I don't understand it because to me, this is the Obama syndrome. Obama was obviously full of, excuse my French, swear jar, but Obama got into office, Steve. And what did he do? He left his
hope and fake.
Right, but he left his organizing army on the White House lawn. He had a massive email list, a massive organizing unit, mostly of 20-somethings that are now late 30-somethings or whatever it is. And he didn't use them. Same thing. All of these why do you think so many people are going to the People's Party or becoming cynical or them exiting or whatever? They were people who helped elect AOC and helped elect all these people that don't have anyone to follow right now. Right. So I don't know. I'm just venting at this point, but it's very curious to me. I don't understand it. Maybe it's just that, Ro Khanna, God bless him, he's progressive, but his district is wealthy. Pramila Jayapal might be progressive, but she represents wealthier areas of the country. I mean, Ilhan Omar, I don't think does. Rashida Tlaib certainly does not. AOC certainly does not. So there just seems to be a real friction because literally 2, 3 maybe conservative Democrats are basically, that is why, for example, Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan, Crystal Ball made this point. That is why out of the gate, it's $2 trillion when even Joe Manchin said he thought it would be $4 trillion, should be $4 trillion, because they're crafting legislation focusing on the actual power centers that threaten them, the right, the conservative party side of the party. They're not making it bigger because they know that the progressives will roll.
Sadly, I think you're right. It's what's funny is that even in this bill, the bill is focused, got a lot of taxes on it. They're trying to push taxes like on roadways and people driving on them. And there's a lot of talk about taxing corporations. And I know that's all sexy and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that anytime you put a tax on a corporation, it's a pass through to you and me, period. It's not you're not getting them, they're not being got. They're going to pass that price tag on to Jane and Joe public. And you would think that these people, these progressives that have been put into Congress, they would be fighting for us at a much more loud pace right now, rather than just kind of glide. It feels like they're gliding through, almost like, okay, so we got this little bit of energy behind us. Let's just go ahead and glide through it. Because you're right. I don't see any fight right now. However, I hate to come back to this, but all I can think of, if you're going to be propping up $2 trillion right now and then coming back later with like $6 trillion more, okay, maybe they're keeping their powder dry for that big fight. It's literally all I can think of. But it's taken a lot of advantage of people that don't have the time to wait for that next thing. And there's no guarantees that that would even pass anyway.
Why would they have to wait with their powder? They could do it right now. They could do it every time. The numbers aren't changing until 2022. They have a minority that could block the majority. Let me repeat. They have a minority that could block a majority. So they could play hardball for this one and then that one down there. Are they stupid enough? Did Ron Klain, the chief of staff, hand them flowers when they met? I'm talking about the squad. That they think, oh, let me play ball with them now because they're operating in good faith. And later on, they'll give us something. Well, look at the last 40 years of the Democratic Party. Look at the Clintons, who were notorious for selling progressives and selling more to the left, bullshit that, yeah, you play ball with us on this one, give us the votes, give us this, and we'll take, we'll pay it back later. They never did. Same thing with Pelosi. It's just so obvious, man. And the reason I keep bringing this up is it goes back to the jobs reports. Okay, so the unemployment rate is going to go down. Maybe we'll get it back to when the pandemic is over, 4%, 3%. You and I have talked. That's not the real unemployment number. No. And putting aside that, even if the unemployment number is low, I mean, we're in an economy of a patchwork of freelance jobs, gig jobs, full-time jobs where God bless you if there's anybody left in America that's actually working 40 hours a week. Jobs that are being asked to pay more for your health insurance. I mean, the list goes on, and you're not going to have CNBC tell you that. MSNBC is not going to tell you that. CNN's not going to tell you that even if the numbers get better on the jobs, the actual benefits, the actual pay, the actual meat of it is weak.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.